This flight is just a quick 35-mile repositioning from Edinburgh to Glasgow without any passengers on board. A good opportunity to get you checked out on the Bombardier CRJ 700. While we're waiting in line for takeoff, I'll explain a few things. Flying a modern jet isn't really all that different from flying a small prop. The first thing you'll notice is how different the instrument panel looks.
Road shuttle, holding short.
That call was for another aircraft. The display on the left is the primary flight display, or PFD. It combines multiple instruments into one glass displays. The display to the right of the PFD is the navigation. You can change how the map looks by using the format. Okay. The third display is the engine indication, and you can scroll through the different ICAS screens by clicking the up. For this flight, keep the engine gauges showing on the ICAS. The rows of buttons and knobs just below the windshield is the most. A big difference between jets and piston aircraft is that in a jet, the engines take a... Jets have flaps just like piston aircraft. They're used to... We'll hold... Okay, follow the 737 ahead of us, but hold short of the runway. Release... brakes by pressing the period key and apply some thrust to get us going. Stop here. One last thing. During the takeoff roll, I'll call out 4 speeds. When I call 80 knots, glance at your airspeed tape to verify it's moving and indicating approximately the same speed as mine. When I call V1, it means we're at the speed where we're committed to taking off, because there isn't enough runway to stop at that point. When I say rotate, gently pull back on the stick and rotate the nose into the air. Finally, I'll call V2 when we reach the minimum safety speed at which we can safely climb on just one engine if there's a failure.
World travel to 21, when you can, there you go. World travel to 21, rolling. Orbit 526, back into position and hold.
Position and hold, orbit 526. Okay, we're cleared to taxi onto the runway, but not to take off yet. Taxi ahead and turn right onto the runway. Stop once you're on the runway and lined up with the center line. Press Shift 5 to display the overhead panel, and turn on the landing light by clicking the switch in the lower left corner. Then press Shift 5 again to close the overhead. Before we take off, let's review exactly what will happen. You'll control the aircraft, I'll handle the radios. I'll call out 80 knots, V1, rotate, and V2. When I say rotate, gently pull back on the stick to raise the nose to 15 degrees nose up on the primary flight display. I'll tell you to retract the landing gear once we're climbing. Once we reach 1,000 feet above the runway, I'll tell you to pitch down to 10 degrees nose up and to raise the flaps so we can accelerate. Our initial climb will be to our cruise altitude of 6,000 feet, and the departure controller will probably tell us to make a left turn to the west. I'll let you know when to turn.
Orbit 526, winds are calm, runway 6 right, clear for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, orbit 526. 80 knots. All right, we're cleared to go. When you're ready, use the throttle lever on your joystick or press the F3 key to add thrust. Start with 50% N1. Let the engine stabilize and then increase thrust to 100%. V1. Rotate. Slowly pitch up to 15 degrees. V2. 80 knots. Positive rate, gear up. Raise the landing gear by pressing the G key.
Orbit 526, coming back to pass.
Orbit 526, switching. Okay, move the stick to adjust pitch to 10 degrees nose up on the primary flight display, and raise the flaps. reduce thrust to about 80% N1 to keep our speed below 250 knots. Climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Edinburgh departure, orbit 526 with you, climbing to 6,000.
Orbit 526, roger. Orbit 526, turn left, heading 270.
Left to 270, orbit 526. Okay, it's time for the turn. Make a nice easy left turn until our heading is 270 degrees. That's due west. Let's run through the after takeoff checklist. Landing gear, up. Flaps, up. Thrust set to 80% N1 for the climb. After takeoff checklist complete. Level off at 6,000 feet and reduce thrust to about 60% N1. That should give us about 250 knots.